Do you know what it feels like to hold your child's hand, praying for a miracle, knowing deep down it might never come? I hope you don't. But if you do, maybe you can help me answer this. What does a mother do when the world takes her child and offers her silence in return? My name is Claire, and 3 weeks ago, I lost my daughter, MIA. She was only 19, full of life, dreams, and plans that stretched far beyond this small town. I still hear her laughter sometimes, echoing in the quiet corners of our home. But then, silence comes, and I'm reminded of how everything changed in an instant. It all started one Friday evening. MIA had just returned from her part-time job at the local cafe, her face glowing with excitement. "Mom, guess what?" she said, twirling around the kitchen. "I got invited to a big event downtown, some fundraiser or something. The cafe owner wants me to represent them." She was so proud, so eager to be part of something bigger. That night, she wore her favorite blue dress, the one she said made her feel unstoppable. I'll never forget how she looked, standing by the door, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "You'll be careful, right?" I had asked, as I always did. She kissed my cheek and said, "Always, Mom." "I promise." But promises don't always hold against the cruelty of the world. MIA didn't come home that night. I called her phone over and over, my heart pounding harder with every unanswered ring. The police found her early the next morning, unconscious in the back of an abandoned car. They told me she'd been assaulted. I could barely breathe. Have you ever had your whole world crumble in a single moment? If you have, what kept you going? For me, it was MIA. She was alive, barely, but alive. I stayed by her hospital bed day and night, holding her hand, whispering to her, hoping she'd wake up and tell me it was all a terrible mistake. She never did. 3 weeks later, my beautiful, bright MIA was gone. And then, as if my pain wasn't enough, he stepped in, the man who did this to her. A wealthy businessman, untouchable to people like me. His lawyer came to my door, dressed in an expensive suit and carrying a calm, calculated smile. "Mrs. Claire," he said, handing me a folder, "my client wishes to offer his condolences and financial support for your loss." Financial support? For what? For stealing my daughter? For destroying her future? The lawyer leaned in closer, his voice almost a whisper. "It's a generous amount. Monthly payments, enough to ensure you'll never have to struggle again. All we ask is that you let this go. Let it go." Those words echoed in my mind like a cruel joke. I stood there, staring at the papers, my hands trembling. The offer was more money than I'd ever seen in my life, but it felt like blood money, dirty and suffocating. What would you do if you were me? Would you take the money? Or would you fight, knowing it could cost you everything? That night, I sat by Mia's empty bed, clutching her favorite blue dress. I could still smell her perfume faintly on the fabric. I thought about the life we could have had, the moments we'd never share, and the man who was trying to pay me to forget it all. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. And when the sun rose the next morning, I knew I had to make a choice. Would you make the same choice I did? Let me know what you think, because in the end, maybe your perspective will give me strength. You know, it's strange how grief doesn't come all at once. It creeps in, little by little, until it consumes every corner of your life. That's how I felt the morning after I received that offer. Sitting at Mia's desk, staring at the stack of papers the lawyer had left, I couldn't help but wonder, was this how they silenced everyone? Let me ask you something, if someone offered you a way out of pain, but it meant betraying the one you loved most, would you take it? The numbers on the page were dizzying. More money than I'd ever earn in a lifetime, delivered monthly, no strings attached, except one, my silence. I didn't know what to do. Was it selfish to even consider it? I had bills piling up, no savings, and no one to turn to. But then, I'd see Mia's face in my mind, her bright smile, her laughter, the way she used to hug me and say, "Mom, you're my hero." Could I be her hero now? I needed answers, so I called the only person I could trust, Elena, my best friend since high school. When she arrived, I spilled everything: the attack, the lawyer, the money. Elena sat quietly, listening, her hands gripping her coffee mug so tightly I thought it might crack. When I finished, she took a deep breath and said, "Claire, you know what this is, right? It's hush money. If you take it, you're letting him win." "But what if I fight and lose?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "He's powerful, Elena. He could bury me in legal fees. And what if they twist the story, make MIA out to be—" I couldn't even finish the thought. Elena leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "Then we fight harder. You're not alone in this. There are people who'll help. You just have to believe that justice is worth more than money." I wanted to believe her, but the fear of failure loomed over me. So, I reached out to someone who might give me a clearer answer, a lawyer named Mr. Henderson. I'd heard he worked with families like mine, taking on cases against the untouchables of society. Mr. Henderson didn't sugarcoat anything. "Mrs. Claire, this won't be easy. Cases like this can drag on for years, and people like him don't play fair. But if we win, it won't just be for MIA, it'll be for every girl he thinks he can silence." His words stayed with me. For every girl. MIA wasn't the first, and she wouldn't be the last. If I stayed silent, how many more mothers would find themselves sitting where I was, clutching the same kind of papers, asking the same impossible questions? Still, the decision wasn't as simple as it sounds. That night, I attended a meeting at a women's advocacy group Elena had told me about. There, I heard stories from other mothers, sisters, and daughters, women who had been through battles like mine and survived to tell the tale. One woman, her voice steady despite the pain in her eyes, said, "The hardest part isn't fighting them, it's fighting the voice in your head that says you can't." I went home with those words echoing in my mind. I stood in Mia's room, her favorite blue dress still hanging on the back of her chair. I thought about the life she could have had, the dreams she didn't get to chase, and the man who thought he could buy my silence. If you were me, would you risk everything for justice? Or would you take the money and move on? I knew my answer by the next morning, but I wasn't ready to say it out loud just yet. Not until I stood before Mia's grave, a name etched into the cold stone. "I'll do what's right," I whispered, my voice breaking. "For you, MIA. For every girl like you." The battle was just beginning. You know that moment when you're so scared, you can feel your heart pounding in your ears, but you stand your ground anyway. That's how I felt walking into the courthouse that morning. I had made my decision. The money wasn't worth it, not at the cost of Mia's memory, not at the cost of my own soul. The courtroom was packed. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions I couldn't answer. I wasn't doing this for attention, I was doing it for MIA, and for every girl who couldn't speak for herself. The rich man, the one who destroyed my daughter's life, sat across the room, his face calm and confident. He looked untouchable, like he had already won. But I had something he didn't, the truth. Let me ask you, have you ever faced someone who thought their power made them invincible? If you have, what did you do? The trial was brutal. His lawyers didn't hold back. They tried to paint MIA as reckless, insinuating that she put herself in harm's way. Every word felt like a knife in my chest, but I didn't let it show. I held on to the strength MIA had given me, the strength to fight for her. Mr. Henderson was incredible. He stood tall, presenting the evidence we had, showing the world the truth about what this man had done. Witnesses came forward, women who had been silenced before, their voices trembling as they shared their own stories of abuse. They had been too afraid to speak out, but Mia's story gave them courage. When I took the stand, I looked directly at the man who had taken everything from me. "You took my daughter," I said, my voice steady. "You think your money can erase what you did, but it won't. It won't bring her back. And it won't save you from the truth." The courtroom was silent. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat. The trial dragged on for weeks. There were moments I wanted to give up, moments I thought I wasn't strong enough. But then I'd think of MIA, her smile, her dreams, her favorite blue dress, and I'd find the strength to keep going. Finally, the day of the verdict arrived. The jury filed back into the courtroom, their faces unreadable. My heart felt like it might burst as the judge read the decision. "We find the defendant guilty." I broke down in tears, a mix of relief and grief washing over me. Justice wouldn't bring MIA back, but it meant the man who hurt her would face consequences. And it meant other girls would be safer because of her story. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed me, but I didn't care about their questions. I looked into the cameras and said, this wasn't just for MIA. This was for every girl, every mother, every family who's been silenced. We won't be silent anymore. Now, as I sit here sharing my story with you, I want to ask, what would you have done in my place? Would you have fought? Or would you have taken the money and moved on? I hope Mia's story reminds you that even in the face of unimaginable loss, we have the power to stand up, to speak out, and to fight for what's right. Thank you for listening to me. And please, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. This is Anonymous Stories, sharing real-life stories with you every day. Support us by subscribing to this channel and sharing this story with your friends and loved ones to give them the opportunity to join our community. See you soon. And always remember to check us out every day for great stories.